Hey, good evening, ladies and gentle drunks. My name is Kevin Olson. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Beautiful to be here with you guys. Happy to be here. I'm glad you're here. I know I'm glad I'm here. I never feel more alive than when I'm sharing God's message of recovery in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that I discovered in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're going to share that book together today. Happy to be here, you guys, and happy to get into this work with you. We're going to be in step 12 in the chapter Working with Others tonight, and I'm excited to kick that off. But before we do, let's dive quickly into the set-aside prayer, as we always do when we kick this thing off. Set-aside prayer goes a little something like this. Please sing along if you know the words. God, please help me to set aside everything I think I know about you, about me, about my fellow man, about the 12 steps, and please allow me to gain a fresh new vision, perspective, and understanding of what you, what me, what my fellow man, and the 12 steps are all about. Amen. All right. And as this is the Fourth Dimension Big Book study, I always like to read the two parts of our book that refer to the fourth dimension. Page 8, Bill Wilson writes, I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. And then on page 25, Bill Wilson writes that we have found much of heaven and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. All right, brothers and sisters, we're going to be catapulted. We're going to be rocketed. And for the sake of the tradition and custom of the Fourth Dimension Big Book study, would everyone who please put one hand up like this? And everybody please put another hand up like this. And everybody go, oh, yeah. All right, let's get rocking and rolling. I'm going to have fun tonight. I hope you guys are ready to have some fun. It's entirely optional, but it's highly suggested. Welcome, everyone, to the fourth dimension. Big book study, that is. Glad you guys are here. Okay, so last week, we are going to kick off in a moment on page 89. Last week, we were on step 11. Obviously sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And one of the things I talked about last week was for a long time in my life, I was involved in a lot of prayer. Oh man, I was a prayerful dude. Lots and lots of prayer. And my sponsor asked me, okay, and so how's the meditation going? And I said, well, you know, I don't really go in for that meditation stuff too much. It's kind of hippy dippy nonsense. If you ask me, I'm not really down for that kind of stuff, but I'm all about prayer for sure. And he said, oh, I see. So for you, it's optional. For your step 11 is a little bit different than mine. Your step 11 says sought through prayer and or meditation. It's up to you how you like. All right. So listen, man, you know, Bill Cleveland, if any of you ever hear a speaker by the name of Bill Cleveland, if you've never listened to Bill Cleveland, don't go to sleep tonight until you've listened to Bill Cleveland. Amazing speaker. In fact, his talk, State Line 2022, Bill Cleveland, he gave the opening address, is one of my all-time favorite AA talks. I think it's one of the best that I've heard, truly, and I've listened to a lot of them. I won't say he's my favorite speaker, because that distinction will always go to Clancy. But Bill is great if you get a chance. One of the things that Bill talks about, though, in that talk is that there's a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous trying to stay sober on 11 and a half steps. Okay, I can't stay sober on 11 and a half steps. And if I'm going to stay sober and enjoy happy, contented sobriety in my life, I'm going to meditate. And I need to integrate meditation as part of my life. And oh, golly, did I resist that for a long time. Holy smokes, I didn't want to have anything to do with that stuff, man. Primarily because it involved me sitting quietly alone and trying to quiet my own mind. And like, it's a nightmare, man. That's a nightmare. It was really hard for me to do. And that's why it's on step 11. One of the things that's crazy is like, we ask, people to get into treatment. Like I remember I was in this place called the Dual Diagnosis Clinic in Calgary, Alberta. It was for people with that had both addiction and mental health issues. Okay. And I was about, 47 minutes sober when I started that deal. And one of the things they wanted to do is have this group meditation. Like they thought I was going to sit in a room filled with other men and women and close my eyes. Not likely. I didn't trust anyone or anything when I got sober, man. And Holly's asking which Talkabill Cleveland. I believe it's 2022, State Line Convention. State Line. If you've never been to State Line, by the way, check it out, man. Go to Las Vegas in December and check out State Line Convention. It's excellent. Bill Cleveland 2022, one of my favorite AA talks. Anyway, long story short, I think it's almost cruel and unusual punishment to ask people who are newly sober to get involved in meditation. I know I certainly couldn't, man. Okay, one of the things that we're asked to do in step 1 is we learned we had to concede to our innermost selves that we were truly alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery, and it's like, man, I don't know about innermost selves. I don't want to go into an innermost self, man, because that's where the screaming and the madness comes from, is that innermost self, man. I've been trying to stay away from that innermost self my whole life. Why do you think I drink and I use? I try to stay away from that innermost self, man. I like outermost other things, man. That's me. I want to get outermost other things and put them in here to make me feel okay. That's my life, man. Okay? But once we go through steps 4 and 5, and I can share some of that burden of that guilt and that regret and the remorse and the shame, and I could get a little freer in that. And then 6 and 7, start to get a little freedom from the bondage of self that's been choking me out my whole life, and I didn't even know it. Then steps 8 and 9, man, really starting to clean up the wreckage of my past and starting to really feel some level of freedom, continuing to take personal inventory. Then once I got to step 11, then maybe I was ready to start actually trying to quiet down this disaster factory, okay? And stop, we clean up the wreckage of my past. Part of my problem is I'm always trying to clean up the wreckage of my future, okay? I'm living in fear, terror, bewilderment, fear, frustration, despair all the time, man. And I haven't even gotten out of bed in the morning, okay? Like the world is ending and I'm just getting ready for work, okay? It's terrible. But I'm able to start to engage in a little bit of mindfulness meditation. And what I want to do, guys, is share with you just quickly today what I do for meditation, okay? And I am by no means a master of meditation, not at all, but I am a person who practices meditation on a daily basis, okay? And, we seek. That's what step 11 says. Sought means we seek. We start looking. Okay? And I don't know about y'all, but I start looking, I go to Google, okay? And if you type, meditation into Google, you're going to get about 9 million hits, okay? And YouTube and on and on and on. And I started to just start listening to other people. And, some of my mom is a therapist, and that was a lot of fun, you can imagine, okay? My mom was a therapist and she taught meditation for years. And I don't know about y'all, but the more that my mom pushed meditation, the more I went the other direction. Turns out my mom was right. Okay. And she suggested people and other people, there were apps for it and different recordings. And then one day I get emotional just talking about it, man. One day I found the teacher for me. I'm not saying it will be the teacher for y'all, but I'm saying that he was the teacher for me. And his name is he was a man named Thich Nhat Hanh. THICH, new word, NHAT, new word, HAHN. He's a Vietnamese Buddhist Zen monk, and he is one of the most beautiful human beings I think that's ever existed on the planet. And anyone who's ever read anything or listened to anything he ever did, there you go, Brad. Yeah, Thich Nhat Hanh, just like that, man. So look, this is not AA approved literature, and believe me, guys, hang with me. This actually is an AA big book study, okay? I promise. We're going to talk about the big book, I promise. But step 11, saw through prayer. And our book says, man, speaking of the book, be quick to see what religious people have to are right, make use of what they have to offer. Okay, Thich Nhat Hanh is his name. And quite simply, I'm going to give you guys right now, I'm going to share with you guys the directions that I give exactly to my sponsees for meditation. All right. So Te, that word Te is the word teacher. That's what it means. It means teacher. Okay. And Thich Nhat Hanh's name is teacher. That's what they call him. His name is just Te. It's like, you know, Bruce Springsteen, they called the boss, and like Elvis, they call the king. Well, Thich Nhat Hanh is just called teacher. That's his name, Te. Okay. Can you guys still see the screen, or it says Te meditation at the top? All right. So this is it, man. This is it. Okay. Number one, we're going to focus on our in-breath as our in-breath and our out-breath as our out-breath. Okay. Let me tell you one of the things that I had misunderstood about mindfulness meditation. Okay. I was very confused about this. I thought that mindfulness meditation meant I was going to clear my mind of all thinking. Okay. That is impossible. It is impossible to remove all thinking from our minds. That is not what mindful meditation is about. Mindful meditation is about filling our mind with only one thought, as opposed to what Buddhists refer to as the monkey mind, which is when my mind looks like a pinball machine. Okay. We all know what that's like, I'm sure. Okay. Filling our minds with one thought. And what the Buddhists teach is that we want to fill our minds with the thought of just our breath. And what Thich Nhat Hanh says is when we breathe in, we know that we're breathing in and not out. We know it's our in-breath, and we know that our out-breath is our out-breath. And just focus on that. As I breathe in, you see the line here. As I breathe in, I know I am breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I am breathing out. And we repeat that several times. Okay. We focus on our entire in-breath for 3 or 4 seconds, as long as it naturally takes. One of the things that used to drive me crazy is when they would say, like, you know, count in for 4 seconds and count out for 4 seconds, or count in for whatever. Thich Nhat Hanh doesn't ask us to do that, man. Just breathe. That's it. Thich Nhat Hanh taught me how to breathe. I thought I knew how to breathe. I didn't know how to breathe. Okay? Just breathe in, breathe out. But I'm thinking, one of the things that mindfulness meditation takes a lot of is concentration. I had no idea. It takes a ton of focus and concentration. What are we concentrating on? What are we focusing on? Just our breath. That's it. Concentrate and focus on the breath. That's it. And we're trying to fill our minds with only that thought. Okay? And when other thoughts crash in, which they will, just go back. Don't try to fight them or argue with them or whatever. Just go back to concentrating on one thing. And what is the thing? Our breath. Okay? Breathe in, breathe out. As we breathe in, I calm my mind. As I breathe out, I ease my body. As I breathe in, I know I am in the present moment. As I breathe out, I know this is a wonderful moment. So another thing, anybody here ever heard of mindfulness meditation where you're doing, they call them body scans? Anyone ever heard that before? Body scans? That's a little weird, isn't it? Like, why are they so concerned with me scanning my body? It always kind of creeped me out, frankly, when they're like, oh, we're going to do a body scan your feet and scan your knees and scan. You know why that is? I get it now. All that they're trying to do when they're asking, they don't care really what is going on. they're trying to do is get our mind and our body in the same place. That's it. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. If I'm just thinking about my body, then my mind and my body are in the same place. And if I'm doing that, I'm in the present moment. And brothers and sisters, let me tell you, there is only one place I can experience the consciousness of the presence of God, and that is in the present moment. That's it. I can't experience God in the past, and I can't experience God in the present, in the future, man. I can only experience God right now. And that's why they do that body scan thing. I always hated that. Like, why are you asking me to like scan my body? What are you like getting at, man? It really it always kind of creeped me out, frankly. Okay. But now I get it. Okay. Thich Nhat Hanh just says become aware of your body. So we do that. Okay. And we do, and look, oh, another thing Thich Nhat Hanh says is smile. Smile when I'm doing it. And naturally, we just begin to feel some like a little bit of joy when we're doing it. Okay. So another problem with me in meditation is that if I'm going to start meditating, man, I'm competitive. So if I'm going to meditate, I'm going to win meditation. Okay. I'm going to become like an Olympic gold medal meditator. I'm going to beat you at meditation. Okay. So if I'm going to start meditating, I'm going to take a course. I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to download the app, and I'm going to start meditating for 6 hours a day. Okay. And then I fail and I quit, like everything, because I don't finish anything. So I quit. If you're here, I'm going to tell you, you can start meditating for 30 seconds a day. 30 seconds. You think like, well, what good is that going to do? It's going to do more than 0 seconds. So I started meditating 30 seconds, and then it became 2 minutes. And today I meditate for 10 minutes a day, every day. And I have other partners in recovery, some of my brothers, and I'm sure you all have friends in recovery, and we trade. When they meditate and pray, do their step 11, they tell me and I tell them. We send each other a text message to let them know that we did it. Okay. And that's it. And then so I do it for 10 minutes every day. I have friends that do it for a half hour every day. Good for them. Okay. I do 10 minutes, man. That's a lot for this guy. Okay. And let me tell you something. This is how it impacts the rest of my life. Nothing has had more impact on my steps 6 and 7 than mindfulness meditation, because my level of reactivity and impulsivity is softened through the act of meditation. I've come to learn that there is a consciousness above my thinking mind. And I can evolve into living in this plane of inspiration. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when it's cleared of wrong motives and it's cleared of little King Kevin trying to choke out the world all day long. And when we talk about restraint of tongue and pen and responding and not reacting and not hurting people with the words that I say and so on and so forth, okay, nothing has had more impact than mindfulness meditation. Restraint of tongue and pen, it's like I'm holding a gun and I'm going to start firing off horrible things to say at you. Restraint of tongue and pen is just like I decide to like take my finger off the trigger, okay? But mindfulness meditation, brothers and sisters, has like removed the bullets from the gun, okay? I just do not react and say the things that I used to say to people and harm people with my words the way that I used to. And I can see myself now going through situations in life like still water, just calm, and I don't respond and react in anger like I used to, not the way that that little King Kevin used to freak out, man. Okay. I had, one of the HR managers at my company described me in a work review as someone with a high degree of emotional maturity. Like I told that to my sponsor and he just laughed, right? Because my sponsor knows who I am, man. And that is all because of mindfulness meditation. Okay. It's really, really had a big impact on my life. So with that said, brothers and sisters, what we're going to do, we're going to meditate together and then we're going to get into step 12. Okay. So we're going to meditate together for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, okay? And we're going to do this meditation. I will take us through it. I'm going to suggest you try closing your eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, I understand. Neither was I, man. Neither was I, okay? So I'm going to suggest you try closing your eyes, okay? And just simply, I want you to concentrate on nothing but your breathing, okay? And we're going to start right now. And as I breathe in, I know I am breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I am breathing out. Concentrate just on your breathing, guys. Focus on your breathing. As I breathe in, I know I am breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I am breathing out. As I breathe in, I calm my mind. As I breathe out, I ease my body. Let your body relax. Drop your shoulders. Okay, unclench your fists. Drop your tongue from the top of your mouth. As I breathe in, I know I am breathing in. As I breathe out, I know I am breathing out. And concentrate just on the breathing, nothing but breathing. As I breathe in, I calm my mind. As I breathe out, I ease my body. As I breathe in, I know I am in the present moment. As I breathe out, I know this is a wonderful moment. And try to put a smile on your face while we're doing this, guys. Try to smile and enjoy a smile, guys. Enjoy a smile while we're doing this. As I breathe in, I calm my mind. As I breathe out, I ease my body. As I breathe in, I know I am in the present moment. Smiling as I breathe out, I know this is a wonderful moment. All right, amen. There you go, guys. 2 minutes of Thich Nhat Hanh meditation. I do it every day, 10 minutes every day. Okay. And it has everything to do with step 3. It has everything to do with step 6 and 7. It has everything to do with step 10, step 11, obviously. And it even has a lot of impact in step 12. And so now, guys, speaking of step 12, let's go to page 89. We are on the chapter Working with Others, chapter 7. Okay, and this chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. Okay, there's only 2 chapters in the book that are entirely devoted to one step. The first is We Agnostics. It's all about step 2. This chapter, chapter 7, page 89, is entirely about step 12. Okay, and one of the things, well, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but there is definite specific directions in here. There are 20 directions specifically, and we're going to talk about them. I'm going to share them with you guys, 20 specific directions on how we work with others and how we utilize this chapter, okay, when we're working with a new sponsee, okay? I know a lot of people, a lot of new guys, you know, I've never had a sponsee, and they think, oh man, I'm really worried about sponsoring people. Like, what am I going to do? I'm really scared about that. And, you know, it's like, you know, Don Landis from the Pacific Group says, like, you know, it's okay. You're probably going to kill the first couple, but it's okay. They're going to, no, that's a joke. It's a joke, you guys. That's just a joke. Okay. It's just a joke that they've, okay. The bottom line is, man, you can't, we are all dying from a fatal disease. We are all dying from fatal disease, okay? And you cannot harm these guys. You cannot harm guys or gals that we try to work with. We can only give them love and compassion. And in fact, the medicine for me, also dying from a fatal disease, the medicine for me is to go work with others. Okay. I think it is, I would argue, the most important tool of all the spiritual toolkits. When we say that we have a design for living that works in rough going, what is Bill Wilson really talking about? If you read that part of our book, he says, early in my sobriety, I was plagued with waves of depression. I almost found myself ready to drink. But invariably, I would go work with someone else and feel myself, he says, amazingly lifted up. Amazingly lifted up. It is a design for living that works in rough going. What is the design? Let me simplify the design for you. When in doubt, when I am suffering, go work with someone else. That's the design. Okay? Let me uncomplicate AA for you. When you are struggling, go work with someone. That's AA. When you are struggling, go find a way to be useful and helpful to someone else. That's the design. Okay? At base. Now, everything else is obviously super important. Steps 1 to 11. Okay? But I want to show you guys something. One of my first sponsors taught me this, and I just love this. Okay? How important is step 12? Let's talk about this. How important is service? How important is step 12? Well, so first of all, I mean, if we look at it from a mathematical perspective, okay, and you guys hang with me on this, okay? If we talk about the 12 steps, so what step talks about working with others and being of service to others? One step, step 12. So 1 out of 12 of our steps, so it's 8.3% of our program is about working with others, okay? 1 out of 12 steps. Step 12 talks about working with others, so 8.3% of our program. Okay, you guys with me on that? But then let's look at Dr. Bob's prescription. Dr. Bob's prescription, for those of you who haven't known it or haven't ever heard it, Dr. Bob's prescription in AA is 3 things: trust God, clean house, help others. So now, how important is service and sponsorship in AA? Okay, well, it's 1 out of 3, isn't it? It's 33.3%. Okay, it's 1/3 of our program. But now, let's talk about Bill Wilson's farewell talk, the AA General Service Conference in 1971. He died a few months after this. This is his last address to Alcoholics Anonymous. Our 12 steps, when simmered down to the last, resolve themselves into the words love and service. We understand what love is and we understand what service is. So let's bear those 2 things in mind. Love and service. Now, how important is service and being of service to others? 50%. Half of our program is helping others. Okay? So bear that in mind. As Bill Wilson says, let's bear those 2 things in mind. This is how important working with others is. Okay? So now we're going to talk about this chapter, working with others. I call this the AA sponsorship checklist. Okay, there are 20 specific directions that we are given in the first 7 pages in this chapter, which is really as far as we go. We're only going to read through these 20 directions, the first 7 pages of this chapter, because those are where we're given specific directions on exactly how to work with others. Okay, and they gave these directions to people because they understood that we may be but one man with this book. Don't forget, Shiva, just 1 second. I see your hand raised. Give me a minute. Don't forget how AA was transmitted through the world. Okay? AA was transmitted through the world because of this book. Okay? At that time, we were still just the drunk squad of the Oxford group. We became named Alcoholics Anonymous after the name of this book. See, we used to be a book that gave rise to a fellowship. You understand? The fellowship exists because copies of this book went into the world. We used to be a book that gave rise to a fellowship. And what are we today? In my experience, I don't know about y'all, but a lot of places where I see AA, we're a fellowship that also happens to have a book once in a while. Okay? I really like this book. I think it's going to catch on in AA one of these days. Okay? Okay? We used to be a book that gave rise to a fellowship. Okay. And they knew that we would be but one person with this book in our hand. Okay. So a copy of this book went to Chicago. A copy of this book went to Texas. A copy of this book went to Los Angeles. A copy of this book came up in Canada, where I'm from, came to Winnipeg. And where I live in Calgary, Alberta, I know the exact history of how AA came to our town. Okay? AA came to our town because a fellow named Jack Jensen wanted to get his brother sober. And I'll tell you what, man, he didn't call AA central office. He didn't take his brother to an AA meeting. He didn't call some 28-day treatment center. You know what he did? He got a copy of a book. He got a copy of a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. And he used that book, and he and his brother started the first AA meeting in Calgary, April 10th, 1945, I believe. Is that right, Danelle? April 19th? Do you remember, Danelle, what it was? I think it was April 10th is the date the big book was. It was in April. I think it's April 19th, 1945 is the first AA meeting in Calgary in a place called the Bowness Hotel, which is really funny. If you know Bowness, if you know Calgary.
October 17th. Sorry, it was October 17th.
October 17th, that's right, because we're doing the Pioneer Dinner. Yeah. October 17th, 1945. I see Nicholas P. has his hand up, and I know Shiva had his hand up too. Nicholas.
Hi, Nick Alcoholic. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure it's okay that I screenshotted one of your slides.
Oh, screenshot with reckless abandon, and 100%. Don't ever ask. This is. I want to share all this stuff with everyone, man. Of course, Nicholas. Shiva, you had your hand up too earlier, brother. Shiva's one of my sponsees.
Would you please share that screen with percentages? Step 1 out of 12 is 18.3.
Oh, yeah, for sure I will.
Thank you.
No problem. There you go. Take a look at that, Shiva. Okay, so why am I saying all this? Because they wanted to give specific directions in the chapter, working with others, exactly in their experience, the experience that they had at that time, which is not a lot. Okay, they had 4 years experience. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, I mean, obviously Dr. Bob got sober June 10th, 1935 was Dr. Bob's last drink. The big book was published in 1939. So in that 4 years, this is their experience on how to work with others. There's some very important directions and instructions in here, and let's go through it together. So my man Brad is here. Brad, are you willing to read for us tonight?
You bet.
Love you lots, buddy. Awesome. Let's go page 89, chapter 7, working with others, practical experience.
Hey, everybody, I'm Brad Tolto, recovered alcoholic. Chapter 7, working with others. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill.
Okay, so one of the things, guys, that I want to say here is, in my experience, nothing will so much ensure immunity, not just from drinking, but from fits of untreated alcoholism as well. Okay, look, brothers and sisters, I'm 16 years sober, and you better believe I still have fits of untreated alcoholism. Okay, where I behave like a child. And I behave and get wrapped up in my emotions. Don't laugh, Danelle. Don't laugh. That's not nice, Danelle. Danelle's my lovely, beautiful partner. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm the luckiest man in the world, really. But Danelle knows, man. She sees it. Okay, we have. Okay, and it goes both ways, I'll tell you that, okay? But nothing so much ensures immunity, nothing so much ensures immunity from alcoholism as intensive work with other alcoholics, okay? Let me tell you one of my favorite stories about my grand sponsor, Clancy. Clancy, I heard a speaker recording of Clancy's 20th AA birthday, which was in 1978. 1978, Clancy turned 20 years sober. And on that talk, Chuck Chamberlain introduces, he does the talk and he introduces Clancy. And he said that in that room, Clancy had 120 sober sponsees. Can you imagine? 120 sober sponsees in that room. And what I love about that is Clancy wrote a birthday card to each one of his sponsees. He didn't get birthday cards from them. He wrote each one of them, each one of his sponsees, a birthday card. And you know what he said? He wrote the same thing in each and every one of them. This is on the recording. He said, "Thank you for letting me think about you so I didn't have to think about myself." Okay? That is an AA classic, because when I am concerned with your suffering, I am not obsessed with my own suffering. When I'm thinking about your life, I'm not obsessed with my own life. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? All right. So that's how intensive work with other alcoholics ensures immunity from fits of untreated alcoholism. Back to you, Brad.
Life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends, this is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. Perhaps.
Okay, so now it's going to give us the first direction, which is we need to find victims. Oh, sorry, I mean sponsees. Okay. Okay, so where are we going to find them? Now, keep in mind, Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't really even exist at this point. Okay, so they're going to give us this direction. This is number 1, page 89. We're going to find people to work with: hospitals, medical facilities, churches, religious, spiritual places. Okay, that's all nice and cute, but where is the best place for us to find new sponsees? How about meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous? Okay, and let me give you guys a tip. What is the most important part of a meeting? If your motive to go to meetings is to give something rather than to take, and my motive in the meeting is to go and to find someone to work with, then what is the most important part of the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting? It is at the beginning when they ask, "Are there any newcomers here?" And then we ask them to raise their hands. Here's a pro tip. That is not for the newcomer. That is for us. So we know who they are. So after the meeting, man, in my home group, a primary purpose group, man, you got to hustle to get to the newcomer. Okay, because we got teams of people lined up, okay, to go get with those guys. Okay, so that moment, is there anyone here who's new? Have a look. Don't be on your phone. Don't be sipping your coffee. There's no more important part of the meeting than knowing where those folks are, so we can go give them some love and teach them about the miracle of this program. All right, guys? Okay. Brad, back to you, fella.
Yeah, I always say at our home group, when I'm looking for a new sponsee, I got to be sitting in the back of the room to get a head start.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. 100%. And I'm proud of it. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool. Back to the reading, sorry. Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will be only too glad to assist you. Don't start out as an evangelist or a reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You'll be handicapped if you arouse it. Ministers and doctors are competent and you can learn much from them if you wish. But it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. When you discover
this is point number 2 now. Okay, Brad?
Yeah, when you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing they are dealing with a sick person. If there is any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. Get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his backgrounds, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. You need this information to put yourself in his place to see how you would like him to approach you if the tables were turned.
Okay, so we went through four numbers 2, 3, and 4 here. Okay, so we're gonna find out all we can about him. Okay, we're gonna ask about his behavior, his background, his problems, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. So the list of questions, when a guy asks me to sponsor him, the first thing I'll say is, okay, I want you to call me every day for the next 7 days. Okay, that's action number 1. Call me every day for the next 7 days. If you miss a day, we start over the 7. If that happens twice, I help you find another sponsor, okay? Because he's not taking direction. If he's not going to take direction from me, I can't be of maximum service to him, okay? I can't be helpful to him if he's not going to take direction. So he needs to find someone that he's going to take direction from, okay? So on day number 2 that a guy calls, I do what I call the biography call. Okay, which is simply, I have a series of questions that I ask to get an idea of exactly that, the behavior, the problems, the background, the seriousness of his condition, his religious leanings. The questions I ask, I should have these written down, but maybe someone can put them in the chat. But the questions are these: when were you born? Where were you born? Tell me about mom and dad. Tell me about brothers and sisters. Where do they live? Are your mom and dad still together? So on. I want to get some idea of his background, okay? Did you finish high school? Tell me about your education, okay? What do you typically do for a career? What do you do for work? What do you usually do, okay? Then I want to know, do you have a criminal record? Have you ever been to jail? Do you have any outstanding warrants? I want to know that kind of stuff, okay? Then I want to know, what kind of drinker and or user were you? Were you an alcoholic only? Did you use a lot of drugs? Have you been using needles? Were you a binge drinker? Were you a daily drinker? Were you on the streets? I want to know that kind of stuff, okay? I want to know, have you tried AA before? How many times have you been to treatment? How many times have you been through the steps? How many of the steps have you done? Okay. And then I want to know, relative to step 2, were you raised in the church? Do you have any prejudice against religion? Do you have any anger issues with God? So on and so forth. Those are all the questions that I want to ask when we do that biography call. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about point number 3 here. Does the prospect want to stop? Okay. And what I'm going to share right now is Kevin's opinion. Okay. But I think it's pretty much universally understood in AA that we don't talk to drinking drunks. Okay. If someone is drinking, that's their deal, man. We are not here to try and pull people out of drinking. We are here for when people are desperate to stop. We have an answer. When anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, I am responsible. But if they're not reaching out, I'm not responsible. Okay? We don't chase people who are still drinking, man. Okay? The Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is a very, very, very valuable thing, and it comes at a price. I have to be sober in order to enjoy the beautiful fellowship and the unity of Alcoholics Anonymous. If I'm going to go drink, I can do that alone, man. Okay? And that's the price that we pay. I understand drinking is a very, very lonely thing, but I don't get to drink and enjoy the richness of the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay? So does the prospect want to stop? We don't chase people who are not ready to stop. If they're drinking, they can go do that alone. When they're ready, they know where to find us. And then I will break my neck to help them. But until they're ready, man, I need them to hit bottom, and I need them to hit bottom hard. Hitting bottom in AA is not a place or an event or a situation or a set of circumstances. Hitting bottom is when I am ready to start taking directions that I don't want to take and that I don't believe are going to work in Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I'm ready to start taking those directions, that's how we know someone's hit bottom. Okay, back to you, Brad. We're on page 90 still, guys.
Sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should.
Okay, so I'm going to pause there. Okay, number 5, we're going to wait for a lucid interval, which is they have stopped drinking or stopped using for some period of time. And, typically we're not chasing these guys. Typically they're going to get sober. They're going to come to a meeting, or they're going to call us and ask, hey, are you going to primary purpose group tonight? Or are you still doing that big book study? Or do you want to meet for a coffee or whatever it is? Okay. I got a guy who's in Peru right now. Okay. A guy who was literally, he was a member of AA. He said, I'm going to go to Peru. We said, I don't think that's a good idea. He said, I don't care what you think, I'm going to Peru. Sure enough, he's in Peru ready to commit suicide. He's in a lucid interval right now. Okay. And now we can simply start telling him what we have done to get sober. Okay. Now that question, do they want to quit for good? And are you willing to go to any extreme to do so? That's a really good question to ask someone who's new. Are you ready to quit for good, and are you willing to go to any extreme to do so? Okay. If yes, then we're ready to move forward. Okay. And some of the other questions that I'll ask is, I will agree to sponsor you if you agree to take every AA principle direction that I ask you to take without debate. If you can agree to that, I can agree to help you. Okay. Perfect. And then we've got rules for them. Okay. I want you to have a home group. I want you to have a commitment at that home group. I want you to call me every day for the next 7 days. You're going to pray every morning, every night without fail. I suggest you try doing that on your knees. Okay. You're going to hit a minimum of 3 meetings a week. Okay. And I'm going to suggest that you hit all 3 primary purpose group meetings every week, and that you have a service commitment at all 3 of those meetings. Okay. These are the directions we're going to start giving as soon as we know that they have agreed that they're willing to quit for good and they're ready to go to any extreme to do so. And if he says yes, then number 7, we explain to them that we are a person who has recovered, and we direct them towards this book. Okay, back to you, Brad.
You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others, and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters. Usually, the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution. When your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. Though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure. He'll feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive than depressed. See your man.
Okay, so this is point number 8. We're going to engage in general conversation. We're going to talk about drinking habits, symptoms, and experience. Guys, we're not going to talk to him or her about their drinking. Whose drinking are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about our own drinking. Okay, we're going to talk about the way that we drank. Okay, and that's how we're going to gain their confidence.
See your man alone if possible. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. If he wishes to talk, let him do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time you quit, but say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you, being careful not to moralize or lecture. If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. Get him to tell some of his. When he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. We suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. If he is alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own.
Okay, so on page 92, guys, at the top there, so this is point number 9. We're going to tell him I'm an alcoholic, how we tried to stop. We're going to talk about the mental obsession. How are we going to do that? I want you to write in the margin beside page 92, cycle of alcoholism. Okay, and this is where we take the 5 stories that we developed in step 1 for ourselves to qualify ourselves as an alcoholic. And now we're making that transition truly from being takers to being givers in AA. And now, no matter how far down the scale we have traveled, we will see how our experience can benefit others because we're going to explain to them using the cycle of alcoholism that Dr. Silkworth gives us in the doctor's opinion, utilizing stories from our own life. When properly armed with facts, we can generally win the confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Okay. Now, if you're here, and there's a lot of guys here tonight for their first time, I'm really, really happy to have you guys. If you don't know what we mean by the cycle of alcoholism, tune in next week for the exciting reinvigoration of the 4th Dimension Big Book study. We're going to go right back to the very beginning, and we're going to go deep on the cycle of alcoholism again. But this is how we're doing this. Cycle of alcoholism, 5 stories. Write that down at the top of page 92, and this is how we come full circle. All right, Brad, back to you.
If you're satisfied that he is a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. Show him from your own experience how the queer mental conditions surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Don't at this stage refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. And be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic. Let him draw his own conclusion. If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that possibly he can if he is not too alcoholic. But insist that if he is severely afflicted, there may be little chance he can recover by himself. Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady. Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it. Keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicament. Doctors are rightly loath to tell alcoholic patients the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose. But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution.
Okay, so this is point number 11. We're just continuing to talk about the hopeless feature of the fatal disease of alcoholism, okay?
You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, of the traits of the alcoholic. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he is alcoholic, so much the better. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well. Let him ask you that question if he will. Tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely.
Okay, so this is point number 12. We're going to tell them what happened, and we're going to stress the spiritual feature freely. And guys, what happened? What happened, and we'll talk about this next week when we kick off again, is that we have a program of action. When taken, will connect us to a power greater than ourselves that will help us to recover from the necessity to have to drink. We have a program of action that results in a connection to a spiritual awakening that allows us to recover from the necessity to have to drink. Okay? Surrender, confession, restitution, and service. Anyone who will do those actions can have this awakening that will remove and help us to recover from the necessity to have to drink. That is what happens to us. When we talk about tell them what happened and stress the spiritual feature freely, that is what we mean, okay?
If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him. The main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself and that he live by spiritual principles. When dealing with such a person, you had better use everyday language to describe spiritual principles. There is no use arousing any prejudice he may have against certain theological terms and conceptions about which he may already be confused. Don't raise such issues, no matter what your own convictions are.
When I'm talking with a new guy, man, sometimes I'll talk about God, but I think the best word that I like to talk about is just power. Capital P, man. Capital P, power. Lack of power is my dilemma. Okay. And we can get connected to a power. Okay. Whatever that power is, whatever we believe that power could be, doesn't matter, man. We all get to pick a power greater than ourselves. We get to choose our own conception of what that power is. But the basic promise of AA is that we have a program of action that anyone can take to get connected to a power, a capital P power that will help us to recover from the necessity to have to drink. Okay?
Your prospect may belong to a religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to yours. In that case, he is going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he will be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish constructive action. Let him see that you are not there to instruct him in religion. Admit that he probably knows more about it than you do, but call to his attention the fact that however deep his faith and knowledge, he could not have applied it or he would not drink. Perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice the very precepts he knows so well. We represent no particular faith or denomination. We're dealing only with general principles common to most denominations.
Okay, and so what are those general principles? Well, we're going to talk about them now when we outline. So this is number 13 here, outline the program of action. Surrender, confession, restitution, and service. You can look at the original steps of the Oxford group on page 263 in our book. Okay, our program, the 12 steps boiled down to the last are simply surrender, confession, restitution, and service. That's it. And that's how simple we're going to keep it. That's what we're going to talk to these guys about. So I'm also going to say I always try my very best to end right at 7 o'clock, guys. But we're going to go over time and I don't want to end midway through this. So if you guys can hang with me to I'm going to say 5 after, maybe even 10 after, we'll wrap up and we'll be done for this cycle of the Big Book study and we'll start again next week. And I will also say at the end of tonight, if you want to, don't just leave the meeting right away. We love to go around the room and just say hello to everybody and have you introduce yourself and let us know where you're dialing in from. We got people from all over the world tonight, man. It's my favorite thing ever. It's highlight of my week to meet everyone. So back to you, Brad. We're going to outline the program of action.
Outline the program of action explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you're helping him. Make it plain he is under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties.
Okay, so guys, that's important. That's number 14 and that's number 15. Number 14, you're not obligated to me in any way. Number 15, my only hope is that if you continue this way of life and you get sober in Alcoholics Anonymous, that you will endeavor to give it away to other people down the road. Okay, that's it. Number 14, number 15. Okay.
Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear that he is not under pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you have perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He'll be more likely to follow your suggestions. Your candidate may give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. He may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning which requires discussion with other people. Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you would have made much progress had you not taken action. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book.
Okay, so that's points number 16, 17, and 18. Okay, we're going to tell them, you know what, I used to feel the same way. If we have someone that says, you know, I don't think I need to do all this stuff. Hey, I don't think I would have made much progress if I had not taken action. We're going to tell them about the fellowship, and we're going to lend them our copy of this book.
Unless your friend wants to talk further about himself, do not wear out your welcome. Give him a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation in any direction he likes. Sometimes a new man is anxious to proceed at once, and you may be tempted to let him do so. This is sometimes a mistake. If he has trouble later, he is likely to say you rushed him. You will be most successful with alcoholics if you do not exhibit any passion or crusade for reform. Never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. Show him how they worked with you. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. If he is not interested in your solution, if he expects you to act only as a banker for his financial difficulties or a nurse for his sprees, you may have to drop him until he changes his mind. This he may do after he gets hurt some more. If he is sincerely interested and wants to see you again, ask him to read this book in the interval. After doing that, he must decide for himself whether he wants to go on. He should not be pushed or prodded by you, his wife, or his friends. If he is to find God, the desire must come from within.
So in that case, what I do there with my new sponsees is I'll take them through the doctor's opinion, and I'll ask them to come up with 5 stories from their own life that match the cycle. Okay, and so that's what we do, and from there we're going to ask them to decide if they want to move ahead with the rest of the program.
If he thinks he can do the job in some other way or prefers some other spiritual approach, encourage him to follow his own conscience. We have no monopoly on God. We merely have an approach that worked with us. But point out that we alcoholics have much in common and that you would like in any case to be friendly. Let it go at that. Don't be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other alcoholic an opportunity to live and be happy. One of our fellowship failed entirely with his first half-dozen prospects. He often says that if he had continued to work on them, he might have deprived many others who have since recovered of their chance.
Okay, so this is going to be the last point, guys, that we're going to talk about here in this last paragraph, and we'll be done for tonight. Brad, back to you.
Suppose now you are making your second visit to a man. He has read this volume and says he is prepared to go through with the 12 steps of the program of recovery. Having had the experience yourself, you can give him much practical advice. Let him know you are available if he wishes to make a decision and to tell his story, but do not insist upon it if he prefers to consult someone else.
Okay, that's it, guys. The last thing we're going to do, if he's ready to move ahead, we let him know we're available to make his decision, which is step 3, and to hear his story, which means we're going to help him do steps 4 and 5. Okay, and we're going to move ahead with the rest of the steps. Okay, so that's really it, guys. And that brings us to the end of another cycle of the Fourth Dimension Big Book study. And next week, we're going to start over right from the very beginning, the prefaces and the forewords and the early history of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're going to get into the doctor's opinion and talking about the cycles of alcoholism. And I'm pumped, man. I have been doing this study like continuously every week for the better part of like 15, 16 years now. And it's been one of the greatest things in my life, man. It's like my greatest joy is being here and going through this with you guys, and super meaningful to watch people like like Ben, watching Ben Collins, like, he was like, I think he was days sober when he started attending this study, man. And to see him grow, and to watch, I mean, to have a host of friends, to see a fellowship grow about you, this is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. That's the closing statement at PPG at my home group, when you'll hear the whole room of people chant, "Is the bright spot of our lives."